So, bronze dragons, James, a wonderfully different flair of dragon that we've encountered so far. It's an amphibious creature. Has What did I say? Damn it!
Dreams.
I said what? Hi, I'm RJ,
And I'm James.
and welcome back to the Bestiary Monster Manual A through Z. James, what do we got this week?
This week, continuing our foray into the world of dragons as far as possible, pairing them up by element, and this week we're looking at the blue and the bronze, those defined by their use and essence of lightning. And starting with the blue, very different from last week's chromatic dragon, the black. Whereas the black dragon is defined by its cruelty and malice, the blue dragon is intelligent, strategic, and intensely arrogant. With a far higher intelligence, you can see quite how much this guy thinks highly of himself just by looking at his picture in the monster manual. Just look at that chest to begin with, puffed out, raised high, the wings spread to fully encompass its own sense of majesty as it sits atop its not inconsiderable hoard. The horn you took issue with, RJ.
Yeah, it just looks like he or they added that themselves. It's just an ostentatious rhinoceros-like protrusion that just seeps outright. Ugh, just a creepy entity that is probably a lot smarter than me, knows it's a lot smarter than me, and will do everything in its power to manipulate me to do what it wants.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to meeting this out in the wild at all, but this is a study of how to be prepared for those situations, and there's so much just to dissect here. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And the personalities of these dragons I find personally fascinating. Always, for me, the most engaging villains of any kind of fiction are those who are not just powerful but deeply intelligent, that think long term, that have a plan. And that is the blue dragon to a T. Even if you are fighting this thing, it tries to drag out the engagement into hours or even days, striking only when it feels it has the best chance of victory. And that is very much helped by the fact that these things tend to lair in deserts or rocky, sandy steppe regions, and with their burrow speed, they could be anywhere underneath you, and you probably wouldn't even know until it's too late. They're vain, I think, is one way of putting it. Extremely vain, that they are able to manipulate, they are able to strategize, and so won't tolerate any kind of even remotely perceived slight or offense or insult. They, like all dragons, like to collect treasure hoards, but one thing we were talking about earlier, RJ, is that a very unique thing to blue dragons is they don't just collect things, they collect people.
Yeah, they seem to really want to surround themselves with talented individuals, exceptional crafts or items or groups that excel, that they can then use to their own will. I definitely get the sense that these creatures see themselves as diamonds in the roughs, as a shining jewel in the middle of a barren waste, and they're going to do everything they can to preserve that, to protect that, and spread their will around the region as best they can. If I were finding myself in a fight, I would definitely want to, if I had the wherewithal to think ahead, to protect the most skillful or the most powerful member of my party, because should they fall under some sort of charm person effect, possession effect, for if this may be, a region that's surrounded by undead, they're going to use the strongest member of the party against us, and that terrifies me immensely.
That's a very good point, because these dragons are smart enough to know what the strengths and weaknesses of those facing it are, and yeah, if you've got, say, like a powerful spellcaster in your party, and you're running dragons as spellcasters, which, if you ask me, you really should, it's not gonna necessarily want to just kill all of you. Maybe it wants to bring you under its influence. I love the idea of a dragon as a mysterious benefactor that perhaps at different points in a talented but lacking directions person their life, this mysterious benefactor shows up because, of course, dragons as spellcasters, they can polymorph into humanoids, and they just give them that nudge or that opportunity that they need. And it turns out that after all this time, it's actually a polymorphed ancient blue dragon.
Very much a Senator Palpatine style of subtlety. God forbid that this polymorphed creature makes its way into any type of politics of a local desert or merchant town.
Which it absolutely could if it wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way, again, straying into Star Wars territory. but yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a great parallel for the kind of manipulation and sort of working from the shadows that an ancient and powerful blue dragon might be capable of doing. Like any chromatic dragon, stat-wise, they're terrifying. An AC of 22 because of their naturally thick armored hide. Over 400 hit points, almost 500. Again, we're looking primarily at the ancient dragons because younger ones are just less powerful versions, essentially. It's got its frightful presence, like most dragons. It's got its multi-attack, like most dragons. A thing I like, and I think reflects quite well their sort of strategic and tactical ability, is unlike a lot of dragons that have like cone breath weapons, theirs is just a straight line. So they're not necessarily going to be getting themselves into a position and just trying to hit as many things as they can at once with this area of effect breath weapon. There might be, burrowing beneath the ground, beneath the sand, and then emerging when it's got just as many things in a single line as it can, which is obviously difficult to do, but with an 18 intelligence, I think a blue dragon is going to be able to set itself up and tactically position itself like that.
Yeah, and I think that complements so well with some of the other layer effects. Being able to pull down the ceiling, being able to summon sand devils or other types of minions that can control the area to funnel the players into that straight line could absolutely wipe out the party in one shot if you don't make that pretty difficult dex save.
Yeah, and those lair actions are no joke. And even miles out of the lair, up to sort of 6 miles away, you're getting, deadly sandstorms, dust devils, that kind of thing. There's a reason that the ancient blue dragon has a challenge rating of 23.
Yeah, I think you easily, if you were running this dragon, you could use its regional effects to split up the party, summon a sandstorm, isolate, and then it turns not only just an encounter of can we beat this foe, but can we survive the elements?
Yeah.
Can we find our way back to civilization without starving or dehydrating to death?
Yeah, and those kind of multi-layered challenges, I think, are what make some of the best experiences in D&D, where it's not just you against a thing, it's you against sort of everything it's associated with.
Yeah, I think one of the most enlightening things in reading about these the dragons as they fall in D&D is the polymorph ability. It's the regional effects that I had no idea could even be possible by a magical creature of this power length. Now it's going to take every single campaign where if something's just a little bit off about the weather, or about the way that the plants grow, or about the way that the fish eat the kelp in the area, I'm going to be like, is this a dragon? Is there a dragon anywhere around here? It's 6-mile radius for some of these regional effects.
And I think that's the kind of paranoia-inducing things that a blue dragon would be very happy to see.
Bronze dragons now. Our first amphibious dragon, which I think is just super fun. Even right away in the art, you just take a look and you see this gold aquamarine flavoring to the artwork. Definitely gives you, images of a setting sun on the open water. Bronze dragons find themselves in coastal areas, hiding out and making their lairs in caves. You definitely get a sense that this is part of a maritime campaign. I love the fact that they have webbed feet. Provides a very different essence and image to the bronze dragon.
Yeah, speaking of that slightly more fish-like but more maritime appearance, even the frill down the back of the neck is a little bit more like reminding me of like a marlin or large powerful sea creature like that.
Exactly, a swordfish, a mahi-mahi skimming through the water. I definitely would keep an eye out on the waters if I knew a bronze dragon was in the air. Most people look to the skies, but in this case, you gotta look to the sea. I think it's super fun to try and envision a bronze dragon's lair in some sea cave with the busted up hull of a salvaged ship, and there's sea foam and coral everywhere. One of its wonderful regional effects is that the sea life has this wonderful vibrance to it compared to other parts of the coast. I definitely was surprised to hear that these dragons actively seek out ships coming to and from their areas of domain. They'll polymorph into like a seabird or even a rat to inspect the hulls of ships coming to and from, to look for wonderfully juicy treasures to try and collect. I think it's something that adds just a wonderfully deep opportunity for DMs to implement these as an NPC for characters.
Yeah, and like all dragons should be, they are characters in their own right. And with their lair, I'm kind of envisioning that one scene from The Goonies.
Yep. Oh my god, so cool.
Just ships and treasure, and unlike a lot of dragons, the bronze will often deliberately choose to involve itself in the affairs of what might be described as lesser beings, which I find fascinating personally.
It's something where you imagine a bronze dragon polymorphed as some potentially wealthy person going about a town, supporting the local business, having a drink with people to try and figure out where that they can align themselves. They actually love engaging in conflict. Any scuffle or war or conflict that occurs near it will try and suss out like what is the core problem here, and ultimately pick a side. It's going to pick the lawful good side, but when it chooses, it will not change its mind. It will stubbornly defend its choice and the people who ally themselves with it, and you will have a very powerful ally should a war break out
absolutely
in its region.
Absolutely. Because like all dragons, bronze dragons are inherently very proud, but because the bronze opposes tyranny and evil so strongly, its pride is formed of wanting to show their power and demonstrate it by fighting on the side of good. Not just for the sake of it, though. They will potentially want a reward.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very smart choice to flavor their desires around like wartime artifacts. Was there an important helm of some general or warhammer that struck the final blow to what your enemy? That dragon is going to want to keep that for themselves.
Yeah, because again, a dragon is going to live for many, many centuries past whatever conflict it chooses to involve itself in. And so, again, within the lair, you're going to be finding these treasures of wars and rebellions, and this is the sword of so-and-so that struck the final blow against such and such, and these artifacts that I think just give such richness to the character of this dragon. They're collectors, not just hoarders.
It definitely makes me appreciate these dragons a little bit more, because they're not just collecting items, they're collecting the stories along with them. Like I would love to see a bronze dragon's museum. Like imagine what they would curate if they had like just free will. Oh my god.
That's fantastic idea for like even just something like a dungeon crawl. Like perhaps the owner is not currently there, and your party is in there to try and retrieve a particular thing that this dragon probably doesn't want you to have.
It makes me very intrigued, or it makes me really want to look into like heirlooms. Maybe somebody wants to protect an heirloom from their covetous brother, and they give it to a bronze dragon to protect. There's an idea.
Yeah, I actually, because with lawful good, there can often be a very inflexible view of morality. As we've said, with the Bronze Dragon, they are stubborn. Once they have picked a side, they are not going to deviate from that. I like the idea of a Bronze Dragon as an antagonist for your campaign.
Okay.
Because with the rise of these increasingly popular ocean-based adventures, and a lot of players are really enjoying sort of plundering the seas, they might see themselves as good guys. Bronze Dragon would probably disagree. So, perhaps your sort of stealing from other pirates has become a little too successful and has gained the attention of one of these creatures, and I doubt he's going to listen to, oh, but no, we're doing it for good reasons, though.
Exactly. Stealing from the people who steal is still stealing, so try convincing him otherwise.
Well met, adventurers, and thank you for joining us again this week at The Bestiary, Monster Manual A through Z. What schemes or machinations have you been the victim of from a blue dragon? What bizarre treasures and relics of wars past have you found in the lair of a bronze? Let us know in the comments down below. While you're there, you can subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos, and if you're interested in supporting the Adventurers Pack, you can become one of our patrons at our Patreon. You can go here to see more of our videos, and you can join us next week when we are looking at the White and Silver Dragon.